Hello and greetings from Iceland. This update covers the main events of the last few weeks, which have been very quiet when it comes to geology actually, or until Katla volcano decided to make a move. Today actually. But first, let's talk about Askja volcano, where substantial uplift has been teasing us since 2021, centered near the western side of Lake Öskjuvatn. And we just got the news that recent measurements indicate that the ground uplift has ceased and that subsidence may already have begun. So Askja is definitely not getting ready to erupt, although Askja has a history of switching between inflation and deflation, which means that the present reversal is not necessarily the end of this story. And what happens to this magma that has already accumulated there, might one ask. And I remember myself repeating what scientists have said, that the magma volume there has reached the point of no return. So is this sack of magma under there just a ticking time bomb in a region where pockets of groundwater can easily turn explosive? And one of the fascinating possibilities is that we are watching the pressure cycle of the volcano change phase in real time, which must be like a slow-burning soap opera for geologists and volcanologists that have the chance now to monitor this process with high-tech equipment. And the 2021 inflation phase was in itself a reversal of roughly 4 decades of deflation. So when we talk about volcanoes as living and breathing, Askja is telling us why. And what remains unexplained are the results from a Cambridge research that came up with some ridiculous figures for magma accumulation a while back. And when one of our experts cited that research in a radio interview, he ruined the microphone when he coughed up that we might be looking at 10 to 100 cubic kilometers of magma under there. And the print media and the online media, they didn't pick up this story for some reason. And I'm not even sure if the Icelandic experts bought these results as accurate. For comparison, the largest volcanic eruption in Icelandic history during history times, in terms of lava volume, was 20 cubic kilometers of magma. And to put that volume in better context, this is the sealed volcano Skjaldbreiður. I was there just a few days ago, standing on 17 cubic kilometers of lava. The original idea was to hike up this lava chunk, but I will tell you more about that in my travel story. And it's a bit hard to imagine 5-6 Skjaldbreiður chunks of lava under Askja volcano. And despite the fact that Askja is no longer inflating, I'm going to keep her on my naughty list, at least for a while. Although it's not as naughty as Katla volcano is right now. And it's a bit too early for the annual thing for Katla, when surface snow and ice melt increases the water supply after the summer. Some of the water eventually reaches the glacier bed, where Katla has persistent geothermal activity, and electrical conductivity in this water has been rising extremely fast today. And we need to go back to 2017 to find such numbers. And there is also gas pollution coming downstream with the river as a bonus feature. So warnings have been issued to travelers passing the river by the village week because it smells just as bad as the old traditional food. So the authorities advise drivers to drive by fast. And electrical conductivity can act as an early warning signal for floods. And these floods can be surprisingly sudden. For example, in 2011, water levels rose by more than 5 meters within minutes. And there are still scientists out there who believe that there was actually a little eruption that occurred under the glacier. Too small to make it through the ice, but large enough to wipe out a bridge. And that's why warnings are always issued when we see some anomalies by the river. And I'm leaving a link in the video description to the monitoring stations just to have this covered in case this escalates. And if you are planning hiking tours around the river Múlakvísl especially, I would do some checking first. But to be realistic, this might just as well be one of the teasers from Katla, not the first one and not the last one, but we better be careful around this giant. And I just uploaded a long panning shot. It's just a simple shot for the record, since it also documents the glacial retreat, and it was shot during my recent trip. That left me about 1 terabyte of data so far, and I'm not done, since trip number 3 to the south will likely take place next week if the weather and light will be in my favor. And the full travel story, that is a big editing task, but I look forward to publish it due to how diverse landscape I was going through, and this time I was not traveling alone, which makes the travel story even more fun. Our main task was Laki Volcano, like I mentioned in a recent update, but part 2 of this tour was more all over the place, just chasing light and weather conditions for filming. And to make this simple, I came back with more footage than I hoped for, although some days were better than others in terms of filming light and such, but the overall results were extremely good. So I returned to the north yesterday after almost 2 weeks of camping, extremely tired, but very happy. And over the next 2 days, I will be sorting this footage, color grading, and making it ready for whatever use I will find for it. And I will try to make a few of my more simple videos while at it, because my channel hasn't been so slow in terms of view count since 2021. It was, however, necessary to make that sacrifice for my long-term goals and, of course, to use the summer to the fullest, because the 2 last summers were very tricky to deal with. And I have other projects that aren't necessarily suitable for a documentary, but they are visually pleasing. For example, I took on the task in July to film a lava field that originates on the highlands, and by Lake Mývatn it merges with a younger lava field, and this enormous volume ends up then in the sea by the north coast. And that story is not a story of volcanic eruptions or the geology behind them. It's more of a story about the lava journey, how it reshaped the landscape on the way. It was supposed to be a little side project, but while I was filming, I found so many surprises that the project just grew a bit larger than I expected at first. And all I have left now is to film the hardest part, where there are no roads and not even hiking trails. So I'm not just busy in the south. I'm just trying to get as good footage as I can while the conditions are right. And the travel story, it isn't over. All I can say now is that I have plenty of footage to last me the winter, and I will do my best to find time to show you more of it before I hit the road, before the summer colors fade away and autumn takes over. And with that, I'm sending you best regards from the volcano island, Iceland.